Hello, here's my face, and we are here live for Inside the Ring, Episode 3. I am Ryan Pilling, your host and adventure tour guide for tonight. This is our adventure into the pages of the Linking Ring magazine. It would probably be good to have one to flip through, but I am entirely digital with my Linking Ring subscription, so I can click through. Ooh. So our goal here tonight is to dig into the gold mine that is the Linking Ring magazine, and let me know, if you're here in the chat, let me know where you're from, that you're watching, tuning in. We have people tuning in on Facebook and YouTube here. Charles is saying hi from Ohio. Mike is here from Ring 1 in St. Louis, the hub, the HQ of the IBM. We have David here from Southern California. Kissimmee, Florida, Dan. Hey, Dan. Oh my goodness, it's so great for everyone to be joining in from literally across the continent and perhaps even around the world. This is an international broadcast here tonight. I'm coming in from Canada, and I'm going to show you a card trick. And I just got in from taking the dog for a walk, and it's very cold outside, so we'll see how this works. Bad idea to go outside, cold fingers, and then do a card trick. So let's try this out. This is something I was just practicing as of yesterday. I was reading it in the latest Linking Ring. This is from the Hocus Pocus parade of the latest Ring magazine. So let's see how this goes. It's a rare opportunity for me to show off my fancy schmancy card skill using only one hand. Aha. There's one. Try this again. Aha! Two. I'm on a roll here. And oh boy, look at that. 3 aces. What more could you possibly ask for? Okay, how about this? Just a little wave. And that is number 4. 4 aces. Amazing. So I wanted to just start with that because that is, as I said, from the latest Linking Ring. That is actually slight variation on Jerry's Charlier Aces, which of course is a slight variation on other tricks. And Jerry put together this parade, which is, if you're a card handler, I think you'll love it. Check it out. This is in the latest edition, December 2020. And if you're not a card handler, be sure to check out his ring and string routine. He put his ring and string routine, he calls it his workhorse of magic, something he's been doing for a long time. And I'm going to be checking that out. And unfortunately, Jerry couldn't join us here tonight. He has some serious back problems afflicting him. So best wishes to Jerry, and hopefully we'll be able to get him on to share. I'd love to see his ring and string routine in the future. But in the meantime, check it out, the latest parade. That's exactly what the show is about. Showing you and demonstrating some of the things that have been published in the Linking Ring, not just this current issue, but going back almost 100 years. I think we're at 97 years worth of Linking Ring magazines. And we got more people coming in. I forget where I left off. We got Ken here. We got Al, another Ohioan. Is it Ohioan? Is that how they say it? Charlotte, North Carolina. Hey, Bernie. Robert. Christopher. Chris, hey, good to see you, Christopher. Constant fan of the IBM Tuesday Night Jam series. Thanks for coming back. Brian here. Lived in Dayton, Ohio. So we got a big Ohio thing. I was living there for 2 years. You remember shopping at the Magic Shop on Brown Street. I don't know if that shop is still there. I've only been to Ohio once for a Magi Fest. It was very cold then as well. So I'm going to get right on with the show tonight. Tonight, if you tuned in last month for episode 2, that was a well-oiled machine. an organized show that I put together and had all sorts of things going on. Tonight is going to be a lot more casual. I'm just fair warning, and it's nobody's fault but my own. This show happens on the third Tuesday of every month, and much to my surprise, that's today. The third Tuesday came up very fast, so I'm very thankful for our guest here being able to jump in. In fact, he was enthusiastic to be on board with this show. Sent me a note last month saying he'd love to join in, and you will recognize him if you're a reader of the Linking Ring magazine. He is an author, a magician, an amateur human being. In magic, he's known for finding little-known or long-forgotten methods and reimagining them for today's audiences. Outside of magic, he's known for sampling many flavors of ice cream and leaving the store before buying any. He's written the Auto Magic column in the Linking Ring. Is this starting to sound familiar? Since 2015, 5 years. And in the time he's written several magic books, such as The 5 Roads to Vegas, Back to the Launching Pad, Dancing with Cards, Influenza, and his most recent tragedy, The Expert at the Cod Table, which I assume is self-working fish magic. It's my only guess. So it is my absolute pleasure to introduce to you our Linking Ring columnist and special guest tonight. Give it up for Mike Breggar. Woo, woo, woo! Hey, Mike, what are you reading there?
I just want to make sure that the trick works tonight. That's
okay.
Oh, look, the sports section. That's one thing that you're not going to see in the Linking Ring.
Yeah, we all tend to have a bit of an allergy to that sort of behavior. Mike, thanks so much for coming in on the show. And your specialty is self-working magic, which I think, to me, I'm finding that more relevant than ever in the world of Zoom magic. A lot of those self-working tricks tend to work really well through a camera because people can participate without being physically involved.
Yep. Yeah, and I think it's, what I found over the years, the key, in the past, so much so-called self-working magic has been considered boring magic because it's a lot of it's process-driven. And what you need to do is to sort of disguise the process. So how do you do it? Well, you turn to the magician's bag of tricks because we're entertainers. And you figure out a way to make it entertaining. And it took me, it sounds like such a simple concept, right, Ryan? But it took me a long time to really start to think about entertainment. Are you entertaining too much? Are you entertaining too little? Is there enough magic? Is there too little magic? I don't know that it really matters. If you can come up with 3 to 5 minutes of stuff that's entertaining and has a nice surprise at the end, and people laugh about it, and yeah, you can do some magic and you can do some things that'll absolutely blow them away. It really enhances this thing that we call auto magic, which is a phrase that I came up with because I always hated the phrase self-working.
It doesn't give you enough credit.
Yeah, well, you know what? I don't think there is. I mean, without the magician, it's just a trick, right? And to me, the only self-working magic is back in the days when we used to go to the movie theaters and we would see on the big screen like a Star Wars movie or a real fancy Disney movie or a fantasy. I mean, that's magic. And in a way, it's participatory because you get excited about it, right? It's emotion.
Yeah. Like, I'm just reminded of that, the phrase you see in magic shops all the time, master in minutes.
Yeah.
And there's truly no trick, no matter how simple, that you can master in minutes.
So let me...
The performance, the storytelling process is such a big part of it.
So let me throw...
Gobsmacked. What, are we entertainers? Is this what we're doing here? I thought we were doing card tricks.
That's right. But not at 9 o'clock in the morning. What? It's 9 o'clock in the morning? Oh yes, we're on St. Louis time. There's some time warp theory going on in there. I forgot what I was going to say, Ryan.
Okay, so I invited you here to specifically to share with us some tips and tricks and techniques around this auto magic stuff. When we were originally chatting, you had wanted to share a sneak peek at next month's trick. But
Yeah,
I told you to hold off because
it's a
I
cool
want
one.
people to anxiously open up their linking ring in January and check it out. So we instead turned the clock back a little bit, went back to your column from a couple years ago. And what do you have
Yeah.
to share with us here today?
Yeah. The January trick is a good one, and it's something that I've been holding back, and it features. Let's put this out as a challenge to the viewers. There's a principle in there that is so flexible and so adaptable. I mean, the effect that I show is a single effect, but it is so adaptable to so many other areas. I hope your minds will start racing, and I'll speak for Ryan. May I speak for you, Ryan?
You may.
We would love to see ideas that you come up with based upon the principle that
Yes. Yeah, I have an open invitation on this show. Anybody who wants to record themselves performing a trick from the linking ring, I would absolutely love to showcase it here. So specifically, you can try Mike's trick from next month with your own. I call it a paint job. You know, people give it a new paint job, the same trick, so it looks different.
So I'm going to lower the old camera
All right.
to the table, and hopefully, looks like these are cards. It's kind of hard to see with the contrast. Shadows make it. Shadows. Remember, you do Triumph, right? You do the shadow. Well, you would need to do that to actually see these crazy things. Ordinarily, now this goes back, as you said, Ryan, to 2016, and this is an effect that I would do all the time. It's a pleasant opener, although you can really put it in any part of the show, and you can have the spectators shuffle the cards. Obviously, there's no spectators in here with me, except people, lots of people in Ohio, and at least one host in Canada. You would say to the spectator at this point, pick off about a little more than half of the cards and place it down onto the table. And Ryan, I'm going to ask you, since you're not here, I'll just riffle down, but I'll make it an honest riffle. Just tell me when to stop.
Right there. Stop.
Okay. And again, I'm not doing a riffle force, but we will stop right there.
Looks fair. Yeah.
Okay. And you wanted to go a little more than half, and it's I guess, it's about 20 cards that we have here, about 20 cards or so. And I'm going to put them back in the box.
Okay.
I'm going to attempt to put them back into the box over there. Now, some people out there, some of you cynics, particularly you cynics in Ohio, you might think that, we're doing something fishy and the card that's on the top of the deck may be important, or the card that's on the bottom may be important. So for you cynics, I'm going to take them out. We're going to Las Vegas style. We're going to burn them. And if they ever did it, if they ever burned cards like this in Las Vegas, well, that's a casino I would want to play at. So again, Ryan, I'm going to ask you to, I would have the spectator with the cards on the table, cut the cards again, but I'm going to just say, Ryan, just give me a shout.
Stop.
Okay. And again, we'll stop right here. Now this time, it looks like, I don't know, maybe 13, 14, 15 cards, something like that.
Okay.
Any case, we're going to take these and put these into the box as well. Hopefully you can see them residing in the box. And again, we'll do the Vegas thing. We'll take the top card off. I'll shove that in there. Take the bottom card and I'll shove that in there as well. And one more time, we don't have a whole lot of cards left. So you'll have to say stop pretty quickly. So let's go.
Stop.
Right here. Okay, and about 6 cards left, and I don't want to touch these cards that you cut to. I'll just put these over here. Hopefully you can at least see the cards down there that you cut at. And let me see if I can angle this a little bit better. Okay, so we shuffled the deck, right? And if you were here, you would have shuffled the deck. And we cut the cards 3 times. And if you were here, you wouldn't have said stop. You would have cut the cards 3 times. And we ended up with this card. Oh, let's see. get rid of the glare. Can you see this card?
Yeah, looks like the 10 of diamonds.
10 of diamonds, 10 O diamonds. Now, Ryan, let me ask you, when you said stop, when you were proverbially cutting the cards, did you feel any influence in doing it, or is it just something that hopped into your head? Because the cards themselves do exert an influence on the spectator and the magician, just like the spectator and the magician exert an influence on the cards. Did you feel the cards exerting an influence on you to tell you when to stop?
I didn't. I didn't. It seemed all fair.
It must be that sweater that you're wearing that's just throwing you off. Because you're saying that you don't think that the cards influenced you. Maybe my sweater was influenced. Oh, I know what was influencing you. It was the card box.
Aha!
So that's the trick.
That seemed very fair. That
Wait a minute.
Is beyond reproach to me.
Okay, Brett.
And those watching along, you're welcome to put any form of applause into the chat room. Show your appreciation. It's the closest we can get. Virtual performers are drying up like cactuses in the desert here without public appreciation.
Well, I think I'm seeing some virtual. I'm seeing Z's, lots of Z's, and sewing of log emojis. It's coming across the screen. So.
Christine is saying, unexpected, great. And,
all right. There you go.
Christine is also,
thanks.
Thank you about the sweater.
Thanks.
I appreciate that.
Those are my cousins, or the people I owe money to. I certainly do now. So the workings of this should come as no surprise to most of you magicians out there, even the non-cynical ones. It's the old cross-cut force. And
I think that comes as no surprise, but there's also elements in there that I think might have surprised them,
Well, that's good. So we'll go over those surprising things, because you basically did 3 cross-cut forces in a row. And believe me, if you do more than one, you're sort of tipping your hat a little bit too soon. So how do you disguise it when you have 3 in a row? Now we'll have a little bit of time a little later. We can talk a bit more about cross-cut force and some nuances and some ideas that I picked up over the years, and a few other things that we can talk about. But as far as the trick goes, your force card sits on top of the deck. I'm pausing because, again, I see glare. But there's the 10. The 10 of diamonds sits on top of the deck. And here's something that will throw some magicians off. And that's, instead, the typical cross-cut force, the card sits on top of the deck. Right, the magician says to the spectator, take the deck, cut it in half, put it on the table, and take the other part and put it in the form of a crisscross on top. And that's where we'll mark your cut. That's the typical cross-cut force. And I'll be honest, the very first time I did the cross-cut force in public, I was busted. The very first time. And I stopped doing it for years and years and years, until I started to think of ways. It's been around since 1925. I mean, it's almost 100 years it's been around. So there's got to be something to it. So here's one thing you can do to make it a lot more deceptive. Your top card, your force card, put 2 cards on top of it, 2 different cards. So now you mark up your little box, and you take the cards out of the box and you put them on the table. Now, the first thing I did was to do a cross-cut force out of my hand onto the table. Now, this is an idea from Peter Duffy. Peter talked about having the cards like you're going to hand them over to the spectator to cut. I splay my fingers a little bit, and it becomes very innocuous. It's like, can't do anything with these cards now, so just pick off half and put it onto the table. So in ordinary cases, somebody will pick up half, they'll drop it to the table, and now you ignore this. You ignore this completely, because you want them to think this is sort of the refuse pile. You're ignoring it, so you're talking about, well, look, you cut it, you cut a little more than half off, which is okay, and it looks like there's, 20, 24 cards or so, and you make a big deal about picking up the box and putting it into the box. You're building in this element of time misdirection, and what I think is more important, it's spatial misdirection. You're moving away from where the action is and drawing their attention over here. And they'll forget that this part was the top of the deck, right? And then you've got your force card still over there. But now after you do this,
interesting. Sorry if I can
yeah,
interrupt you, frankly, because mostly it's people know that the crosscut relies on that time misdirection, but most of the time that is like basically ignoring the deck entirely for a minute or so. Like it's like, okay, we're gonna cut the cards. Now, did I ever tell you about the time I met my grandfather in France and we went and hunted cows? Anyhow, back to your card.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I love that the misdirection is still focusing on the process of choosing the card.
Yeah, yeah. So now
paying attention.
So now you come to with the first potential throw off for anybody who might be in the know, because if they're in the know, they might sense what was coming, or they might have good spatial sense, right, or topological sense, and recognize that this was the top of the deck. So you're gonna go and dispel that now. It's the old Juan Tamariz with not the 5 points of magic. His other book, where he talks about try and remove the various forms of possibility. Mm-hmm. So you do the bit about burning the cards. Maybe you saw me take a glance at the bottom card. Maybe you saw me take a glance. Maybe you think they're marked cards on top. So we're going to take, just like they do in Vegas, you peel off the bottom card and you throw it into the box. You peel off the top card and throw it into the box. And what you're doing with all of this is you're making the box and these cards more important than what's happening over here, which is just where you want to play this. So that was the first one, from the hands to the table. Now, originally, and if you go back to the original article, I have the magician picking up the cards again, and it's doing the same cut all over again. And what I found, it's better if you just leave the cards on the table and say to the spectator, now cut off another half of the cards. You can put it back in my hand, or just put them on the table. So they take the cards and they cut the cards. The spectator will cut the cards and always pull the cut part closer to them. So they'll cut the cards and they'll bring it over here. You immediately take this part up and you put it over. Here are the cut cards. You put these over these. So when you put it over, psychologically, these are sitting on top of these. You think this is where it came from, right? And you go through, well, it's 15 cards here, whatever you say. And now you're drawing attention again to the box and putting the cards in the box. And you do the burn a card thing, bing and bang. And you're left with a small packet over here that you can either have them cut off of the table and say, just put it on the box, or put it on your hand and then put it on the box. But you're doing the crisscross now with the box as part of the crisscross. So they take off half, they put it on top, and then immediately you take what's left in your hand instead of counting or doing whatever, even though I did count it a little bit. And you pretend you can't get these cards into the box like you did the others, because if you do, you're going to have to touch these cards. So let's just put these on top. And you can turn it around like it's a little turntable to say, I'm not even going to touch your cards. You can see the parts where you cut. I'm not even going to touch the cards. Let's take a look and let's see where you cut. And you get down, you reach down to the break where the card is. There's that 10. And you let them look at it for a minute, and it's okay to be sloppy. And you grab the flap. And when you pick this up, it didn't work now, but when you pick it up, I like to pick it up with force that I flip these cards face up. Because then that becomes a little bit of a distraction as well. And they're trying to figure out, they don't know what's going on. This does not register immediately. Yeah. Certainly doesn't register when you're on the web. You have to go closer to the camera. But here's a cool thing to do. When you're able to do this live again, it will register with them after a second or two. You take the box and you put it over here, and take one of these cards and put one of these cards face down over here. Mm. You see this? You're mimicking.
Yeah, recreating that picture.
Let me move it back a little bit. You see the picture? You're mimicking the picture. And it's a really nice display. It's a really nice display when you do that. Yeah. So that's my trick from 2016. And I have to tell you, it is so much fun to perform when you have, listen, we have the holidays coming up. You may have some family that you may be forced to see, although it won't be as many family members as you have in the past. And they will inevitably say, show me something. Hey, show them something.
Yeah.
And this is cool because it's a lot of fun, and they can, look at the deck. They'll look at the box. They'll grab the box. They can't I saw that box. How did that arrow appear on that box? I mean, it's just incredible, some of the things that they'll say to you.
Yeah, like even though I'm very familiar with the crosscut force, that process to me seemed like, by the end of it, it seemed like that was a random pile from the middle of the deck to me. My first impression seeing that. So I think it's very
cool.
Well disguised. Yeah, people are saying, I really like that last touch. I think she's talking about recreating the picture.
Thank you.
And a technical question: how did you make the back of the box?
How did I make the back of the box? Is that a full sentence? How did I make the back? How did I make the back of the box dance, laugh, smile? How did I make the back?
Asking because it's a specific kind of box, or
no, it's the well, you know what? The bicycles, the standard bicycles, not the fancy bicycles, have this picture. Now, what's for whatever reason, so these are the jumbo index cards. Whatever reason, the jumbo index cards have a 10 of, my finger, it's backwards here, have a 10 of diamonds on the back. And, let me see. Somewhere I have I got tally-os, I got cohorts. So the regular index bicycles have the 10 of hearts on the back for some reason. And was your question, the standard bicycle has, the bicycle on front, and
I think that was just it. That some boxes, your box may vary. Like here in Canada, the most common box has that on the back.
Oh, okay. What's that at the bottom? It says it's like Surgeon General's warning not to smoke.
It's the copyright. This may cause card trick addiction. You'll be hooked for life, and
that's right.
Send all your money to magic shops. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll tell you, I'm cheap, and you can go to the big discount stores. You can go to the Sam's Clubs and the BJ's and the Costco's, and you can get big bricks of bicycles for $12, particularly around the holiday season, 12, 13, 14 bucks. A dozen cards, 6 blue, 6 red, and they all have this type of back on these things. And apparently that's
just for clarity's sake, that arrow is drawn on, right?
Yes. I took the cellophane off because then we'd get too much glare. But I did take the cellophane off, and I took a big Sharpie with the fat blunt tip, and I drew the little arrow. Originally, I had it marked on the text where it said your card with the arrow, but you know what? That just looked messy. And I did it.
I do like the fact that people have to clue into it slowly.
Yeah,
that's kind of nice.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That's why I put the arrow, Ryan, because without the arrow, it just took people forever, and they ended up tapping the box like it's the end of the trick. Look. So the arrow helps a little bit, although it's really kind of funny. You get this. You talk about time misdirection. You really get this delay. It's a delay realization. They look down, they look up, they don't get it. Then when they get it, they laugh. And something very similar. If you like card magic of Nick Trost, Nick had a trick where I think it was a simple like a Balducci, an Ed Balducci cut deeper force. But you would turn over 10 cards, and the 10 cards would reveal a telephone number. And you'd find out the telephone number of somebody in your audience ahead of time. And you would you'd put the the 10 cards down, and it would take 15 minutes for somebody to realize that those numbers of the cards spell out their phone numbers. And Mark D'Souza just posted that they
Yeah,
are
a couple
on.
people were saying Walmart and Costco apparently that's where they see those boxes. So
Yes.
just
Yes.
not the fancy boxes, I guess, is what we're
Well,
telling you.
You know what? I think there's a difference in the quality of the card. Like this one, like the angel has fallen off the bicycle, and in this one, this angel has training wheels on the bicycle. So I don't know. They're like factory seconds.
Yeah, the tire is a bit bent, and
Yeah. Right. One's delivering a newspaper. I'm telling you, it's all sorts.
And I'll put up our reference here. So if you want to track down when you're writing about this in your column, it is May 2016, page 104, and it is the one with Max Howard on the cover. If you can pull that off your shelf, and that's where you'll find the article specifically about that force and that trick. And yeah, and I should say, if you're in Canada or elsewhere in the world, you can't find those boxes. It's a force, so reveal it however you wish. You can put a post-it note on the bottom of your box, and it would accomplish the same thing. So if you can't find the box, it's a creative challenge.
I think Mark Mason has an effect, and Mark Mason shows the card on the box, and he has a card selected, and it's like the 6 of clubs. And he says, well, I have it here in the back of the box, and you see it's the 10 of diamonds, and you cover it and you take your hand away and it's the 6 of clubs. And I do believe that that's the effect, but you should be able to find these if you're cheap like me.
And Christina's already getting creative from the dollar store, which is my favorite place to shop. Craft store found some fake diamonds. You could have 10 in a bag.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and absolutely anything goes. Once they believe it's a fair choice, however you reveal that is going to be a pretty strong effect.
Yeah, but you know what? Have fun with it. One time I did it. I just learned this new trick, and I learned it from one of the encyclopedias of magic, and I had a copy of Tarbell. And as I'm reading it, I said, well, I can't. I would do the reveal of the 10 of diamonds, and it's like, well, wait a second. I can't remember how this trick ends now. And I would open up the book, and I would let a jumbo 10 of diamonds fall out of the book. I mean, that's another way to handle it as well. But again, the theory is, did the cards influence the way you've cut the cards? Did the cards influence you? Did this little pile influence you? Hey, maybe it was the box that didn't. So if you can get the box, that's a cool way to do it. And I'll show you another cool thing. On the jumbo index cards, not only do you have a card on the back, you got a card on the front too. So you can do it a second time for a different table, or you can load up your crosscut force where you have the king of spades on the bottom of the deck and the 10 of diamonds on the top. And after the first cut, you can say, which pile do you want me to work with? Right? And then you can do the crosscut, but with the crosscut force, if it's on the bottom, remember when you're picking up the cards, you're not picking up. If you're picking up if the force card's on the bottom, you're picking it. You don't want to pick this one up, right? Because the force is here. So you just reach under and pull it out, and there it is. And if we have a little time a little later, I could talk a little bit about some ideas. Liam Montier and John Bannon had some great ideas on how to handle doing the crosscut from the bottom.
All right, I'm gonna change the topic a little bit, and it's something you mentioned earlier. So last night I had my own ring meeting, Ring 252 in Ottawa. We got together on Zoom and had our usual sharing of magic and tricks. And I mentioned I was doing this show tonight, and one of the fellows piped up and said, "Oh, you know what? I just learned a trick from the linking ring," and he performed a trick. And I looked it up later, and it was from your column from 2 months ago, I think. It was the burying Houdini.
Oh, that's a cool one.
Houdini,
I will not take credit for that. The crazy psychiatrist in Florida, Marty Kane. That was Marty's trick, and that's awesome. So I do actually, in spite of what you may think, I do actually have a few magic friends who I reach out to occasionally, and they do give me some ideas. Um, you know, you asked Ryan for people to come in and perform a trick from that they've read in the linking ring. I always have a thing down at the bottom of the column if anybody has any ideas, and people send me some really good ideas, and I'll make some minor adjustments to it or change some of the pattern around a little bit. But the stuff that people have given me to put in have just been fabulous. So keep those cards and emails coming in.
Yeah, but the thing that stood out to me about the Houdini trick is how, and I believe this is the key that separates a boring self-working trick from an interesting self-working trick, is that the story was baked into the process of that trick. Mm-hmm. Right? Every single move, like it's in the standard card trick, it would be, oh, do you want to deal 3, 4, 5, 6 cards onto the pile? But in this one, it was, oh, do you want to bury Houdini 3 feet, 4 feet, 5 feet, 6 feet deep? Your choice. And so it became less of a card trick and more of a story that was told.
Right. So that's something else to think about. And I am by no means an expert in dramatology. But if you think about good magic is structured like a 3-act play, right? There's a beginning, a middle, and an end. And if you go back to drama theory, I mean, there are 5 acts in Shakespeare's play. So that's a beginning, a middle, and an end. So we've gotten more sophisticated with the JOC cut with the 3 piles. Right? So beginning, middle, and end. And it sounds crazy, but if you look at dramatic structure, the beginning part is the setup. The middle is all that stuff that has to happen. And the end is when you kick him in the face. Or you come to a conclusion, you have your resolution. Actually, I guess it's not the kicker. So it's the beginning where you set things up, then you have the stuff that happens in the middle, then you have the resolution, then you can have the epilogue, like the old Quinn Martin TV shows, right? So, the kicker. So, again, you could reveal the 10 of diamonds is, don't show it to me, just look at it. Oh, it's the 10 of diamonds. And that's an okay trick. That's okay. But doing something like this is, this takes it up a notch, right? This makes people think a little bit, and it gets their attention, and it makes them laugh, and it's sort of a built-in kicker. You can go to Christina's idea and have diamonds. Maybe you can have diamonds fall out of the box. You put a false bottom. After you show this, you have 10 diamonds fall out, and you talk about a kicker on top of a kicker. So that would be a lot of fun to try.
Yeah, and Christina said if you're cheap, you can only use 3 diamonds. That's fine too.
There you go. There you go.
So my question for you mentioned that you love finding those long lost tricks and bringing them to modern audience. So a lot of the times we find these old tricks, self-working tricks, and they are just not exciting at all. There's some mathematical formula. There's very little drama involved in it. So what is your process to take a really dry trick and turn it into something that you'd want to show an audience?
Yeah, I'll read some of these dry things, and I'll find the method interesting, but the way of getting from point A to point C is not interesting. So I always ask the question: if Neil Simon, the playwright, the comedy playwright, if Neil Simon was a magician, how would he structure this in a Neil Simon 3-act play? Think of The Odd Couple, right? And really, that's what I look at. How do you structure this thing? So that's one of the processes. Another process is what can I take a standard classic of magic and throw a monkey wrench into it so it doesn't look like what it's supposed to look like, yet everybody intuitively knows what it's supposed to be. But then you get to the end and find out it's something totally different. So I have an effect, one of the books, it's called Back to the Launching Pad. And that's the name of the effect, Back to the Launching Pad. And what it is, it's out of this world, when we were doing a trick competition one night at my local ring, and I thought, you know what, I'd love to come. My favorite card tricks of all time is Out of This World, but everybody knows Out of This World. So I thought, how can I perform Out of This World for people who already know everything there is to know about Out of This World? I thought, what if I did it face up? And I said that to myself honestly as a joke, because how do you separate the red cards from the black cards when you're looking at the red cards and the black cards? So what is back to the launching pad is you have the cards, the spectator is blindfolded, and you give them the cards and say, put the red cards on your left and the black cards on your right. And as they do it, it's kind of funny because they're not going to do it properly. But here's the kicker. They take the blindfold off. You say, you didn't do such a good job. Well, maybe you did. And you I asked you to separate the red cards from the black cards, and you turn them over on the left. The backs of all the cards on the left are black. The backs of all the cards on the right are red. Uh-huh. And so that's sort of a twist on it. And, the methodology is an old methodology. It came from an old UF grant effect with a little bit of some sneakery from Vernon, but just a little bit. So those are the things that I look at. Like some of the ideas I'm trying to figure out is, how do you take a Magic Classic? How do you take the egg bag and turn that into a card trick? I'm not sure I know the answer yet, but if you break down what an egg bag is, the egg is in there. Maybe you put the card in there and you close it and you hear it and you open it and it's not there. And you close it, and you go, and it's there. I don't know. I don't know.
That's the fundamental question of creativity. What if, right?
Yeah.
What if this was that? What if that was this?
But so John Cristofaro, who I think is wonderful, talks about 1 degree, taking a good solid magic trick and tweaking it just a tiny bit. Keep tweaking it 1 degree, and that 1 degree makes it exponentially better. And I would take the opposite tack. I would say, how do you take something and turn it inside out, right? How do you literally reach into the guts of it and pull it so that it's inside out? And doesn't make a difference if you do that, or you're just ending up with messy hands at that point.
Hey, I got to show you. We don't have time today, but I'm going to have to show you a project I'm working on where I started with Steinmeier's 9-card mystery, ripped it apart, and it turned into something totally different. I'll have to show you that. But Mike, I have so many more questions for you. It's been great chatting with you, but we do have more show to get to, so I'm going to have to move on. I absolutely, I think we should have you back to do your own jam lecture on a Tuesday night. I would love to hear more. But I do want...
there's no accounting for taste. No accounting for taste, Ryan.
Pardon?
There's no accounting for taste.
Okay, yeah, well, so I'm sorry, but I'm going to let other people suffer to satisfy my desire.
Well, you can tell that because look at your sweater. Only kidding. Only kidding. Merry Christmas.
You have a number of books out. Where can people find these? Where can people learn more about you and your magic?
You can see me every month in the Linking Ring, and if you still want to read my craziness, if you want to read crazier craziness, look at the books. So the books are available at the usual places, the Penguins of the world, the British retailers, Big Blind Media and Kmart, Alakazam, really anywhere. Because Murphy's is distributing the stuff as well as Penguin. So they're available as ebook downloads. If you want a super duper special Linking Ring special discount, send me an email. You see my email at the bottom of the columns, and they'll give you 20% off of the list. And you want to know the list price, go look like on Penguin or something, and you can see the list. And whatever that is, I'll give it to you for 20%. They're ebooks, right? And if you want them as a physical book, you can go to Amazon.
All right.
So
just basically Google your name, then you'll find them.
Right after the police reports, you'll find them.
So, Mike, thanks so much for tuning in. Quickly, we do have one question. Your Upside Down, Out of the World sounds amazing. Is it in a Linking Ring column or is it in a book? Where do we find it?
It's in the book, Back to the Launching Pad,
Back to the Launching Pad.
because the trick is called Back to the Launching Pad. There is
out of this world. We're back to the launching pad. I get it.
I was going to put it in the column, but I am limited to like 1,100 words in the column.
Right.
And I think by now you can tell that I talk a lot. Right? So my 1,100 words quickly become 12,000 words. I go into a lot of detail because while it is self-working, there's an awful lot of nuance to make it work. Oh, there's another. If you want to see it actually performed, there you go. I made Sean Farquhar laugh.
Yeah.
If you want to see it performed, Liam Montier does there's a version by Stephen Tucker, which is very similar. Our methods are different because there's a move in Tucker's version and no moves in mine, but theoretically it's the same, called Galaxian. And in fact, if you buy Galaxian through Big Blind Media or Kmart or through your favorite magic retailers, you'll also get the manuscript for my version as well. So it's a cool trick. It's a lot of fun. I have fun with the blindfold. I like putting blindfolds on my spectators, and then I walk out of the room.
So, as I've said before on previous episodes, I know for a fact the Linking Ring columnists absolutely love to hear from readers. So, Mike has clearly got a whole lot more to share, so please do reach out to him. And again, the only reference that I have prepared for you today is what we were talking about, the crosscut nuance here on May 2016. And you'll find his email at the bottom of every column in almost every issue. Again, thank you so much, Mike. You have a great night.
Thanks, everybody.
See you again soon.
Hey, it'll be my pleasure. Thanks for having me. Nice to be had. See you all. Happy holidays, everybody.
And I see what I consider a rave review of Mike's book. If you love puns, buy all of Mike's books. To me, that's the best review a magic book could possibly get. I'm in. Moving on to more stuff coming up here tonight. And man, I was worried about this show going by so quick, and it has gone by so quick, but we're also running out of time. So here we are, moving along quickly to our next segment. Welcome to the really, really late Magic News, December edition, a roundup of magic news and reports from the Linking Ring magazine in years past. These are the crumbs of the news cookies left on the fireplace of magic history from years gone by. And we begin this month 94 years ago, from the December 1926 edition, the first Linking Ring to feature a special Christmas cover, writes Adam Hull Shirk. The end of another year, and much history has been written with regard to the art of magic. Perhaps the most memorable, as well as the most regrettable occurrence during the last 12 months, was the passing of Houdini. With his death, something went out of the world, something that had made it a happier, better place in which to live, and magic suffered an irremediable loss. However, we must go on. With the light that is given us, we must strive and develop the art to which some of us have devoted our lives, and others only a minor part of our time, until new hands take up the work, new brains devote their energies to creating new ideas. Magic cannot remain immobile. It is a perennial, and each year renews its brightness. But we must constantly keep at it if we would advance in the work ourselves. The only way to keep alive the interest and enthusiasm which makes for better magic is the practice of the art. The amateur who entertains his friends and family with new experiments thus keeps alive his keen interest. The professional must be ever at it. He lays aside his wand with peril, for only continued practice serves to make perfect. And next, a December 1935 report of news items from Southern California, as reported by Gerald Koski. Max Malini was entertained twice by the Los Magicos, or maybe I should say the Los Magicos was entertained by Max Malini. For on October 28th, he was the guest of honor at the home of William Larson, at which time he completely baffled the boys with his cups and balls routine. The big surprise being when he produced 3 whiskey and sodas under the 3 paper-covered glasses. And then, on November 12th, he was the guest of honor at the home of Mrs. Harry Houdini. And this time he fooled the boys with some very clever and beautifully presented card effects. Steve Shepard and Charlie Miller run a close second with their card and coin effects at this meeting. And William Larson is once again fooling the boys with some very clever novel effects. It wouldn't be surprising me in the least to see Bill Larson start contributing some of his novel ideas to the various magical journals in the near future. Now, of course, we know now, William Larson, the senior, certainly did start contributing his ideas to magical journals, as the very next year he created one of his own, Genie magazine. Back to the Linking Ring. This time, again, from December 1935, Herman L. Weber, the chairman of the Expose Committee, shares some timely advice as we come to the end of the year. A happy, profitable new year to you all. And now for some suggested new year resolutions. Try a few of these. They work fine. I resolve not to expose magic verbally, in print, by radio, in the movies, or by shoddy performances. And I resolve to clothe my work in secrecy. I resolve to trade up my magic by doing the best at all times and charging a respectable fee for my work. I resolve to trade up my fellow magician. When I speak to any layman about another magician, living or dead, competitor or not, I will praise him. Not faintly, but with discernment. I will find something good to say about any magician whom I have ever heard. For in doing so, I will boost magic and all magicians, not excluding myself. I resolve to do my best to mystify, not merely to entertain. I resolve to eliminate from my act all well-known and common devices such as Keller bases, tables with square, level drapes and bullion fringe, black art wells, bouquet pulls, servants, obvious loads from chair backs and screens, boxes that come apart board by board, all hackneyed tricks. I resolve not to use a brother IBM member's idea, trick, patter, or gag without his permission. I resolve to keep my IBM dues paid, to mail my ballot promptly next spring, and to go to Batavia in June. Now, if you haven't yet completed those resolutions from 85 years ago, perhaps 2021 will be the year to finally cross them off the list. And finally, speaking of lists, we conclude with a wish list from the President's page as published in December of 1986. The season to be jolly is with us once again, and I'm still shopping for these items on my Christmas gift list. For J. Marshall, a trick with a right-handed dress glove, since he has a whole drawer full of them. For Jeff McBride, a Santa Claus mask for his Christmas shows. For Max Maven, a black Christmas tree. For Greg Bordner, a wealthy magician who will build a hotel in Colon, Michigan. For Tom Mullica, a set of fireproof dentures. For Harry Blackstone, another bird in another cage so he can do it again. For Al Goshman, a new change purse. All he has is frames. For Di Vernon, a pair of sunglasses so he won't be blinded when he blows out the candles on his 100th birthday cake. And for Johnny Thompson, a housebroken dove to sit on his shoulder. For Joe Stevens, a how-to videotape of Moses parting the Red Sea. My child bride, Lynn, joins me in wishing all IBM members throughout the world the merriest of merries and the happiest of happies, and to thank you for your Christmas present to me. And that is the privilege of being the president of the world's greatest magical organization, the International Brotherhood of Magicians. That was the words of Carol Fox, international president at the time. And that's it for this edition of the really, really late magic news. And although time is, of course, irrelevant to me, I look forward to seeing you again in the new year. You can tell this is the holiday edition because this suit is real tight. I was also accused of maybe stretching out this sweater. But look at me now, it's hanging off me. So how about that? Yeah, I absolutely love going into old Linking Ring magazines and just kind of wandering, honestly. Just seeing what's in there and finding all sorts of things. I go in and I search, and tonight, just before we wrap up here, I did want to show you how I do this, what my process is. Thank you, Christina. I want to show you how you can dig into the archives of the Linking Ring. So every member of the IBM has this tool at their disposal. I'm going to show you exactly what that looks like. If you're on the IBM website, I don't know why I just rolled up my sleeves like I was going to do a magic trick. I'm going to make Linking Rings appear before your very eyes. If you go in and you log into my account up here and fill in your ID and password. If you don't have that, I think you can get in touch with the head office and they'll help get that sorted out. Under Linking Ring, there is the Linking Ring collection. I talked about this. Hang on. No, I'm in the wrong place. Resources, baby. Resources. Where is it here? I'm lost on Linking Ring. Okay, where? Why have I lost track of this? Linking Ring collection. The Linking Ring login. Aha! Yes. Here we go. I guess. Maybe. No. Yes! Over on this side. Found it. Over on the right side. You can view current issues of the Linking Ring. So we talked about this last time. This is everything going back to 2005. All here available in PDF. But I like to go back further than that. Like the trick. Further than that. Let's go back to where we were here. Over on the right side, access the archives at Ask Alexander. So this is a completely different website. Ask Alexander, run by the Conjuring Arts Research Library, based in New York. And it is this huge archive of magic. I personally subscribe to it. I pay a monthly fee to access these archives and be able to research all sorts of old magic books and whatnot. And thank you very much, David, for saying the sweater is too big. That made my whole month. But the Ask Alexander archive I can get lost in here. But specifically, as an IBM member, you get access to every single issue of the Linking Ring magazine going back to 1923. And now, because we're in my account, you're going to see a lot of things that you wouldn't necessarily get without paying for extra access. But we're going to focus in here on the Linking Ring magazine down here. And you can see right here, it goes all the way back to 1922, 1923, when it was first just a few stapled sheets of paper. And there's 28 pages of this stuff to go through. Now here we are in the 40s. And you keep on going all the way up to page 28 of 28. Here we are, December 2018, down to, there we go, November 2020. So it's right up to basically the present. Takes them a little bit of time to get the latest ones in there, but everything. So let's just pick one at random here to browse. If we were just to read in here one of these old magazines, let's find a Christmas cover. Here's the December one. And you can literally just go in and flip through. There it is. linking ring from December 1960. And you just go next page. And it's as if you have it right in front of you on your lap, flipping through every single ad, every single article, table of contents. And I absolutely love flipping through and seeing what surprises come up. You know, when you're in these old things, you learn just as much from the advertisements as you would from the articles. I'm just waiting to get into the content here. You can, of course, flip through. Let's just jump ahead to page 30. Now, of course, here's Cagliostro, Thurston, Dante, Houdini, Animan, Tarbell. Who was the greatest? Oh my goodness, I have no idea. I'll have to read that later. The Art of Being an MC. Well, as you know, Lincoln Ring full of history, full of practical advice. But here's the thing. Obviously, we can't just browse all this stuff. There's 93 years of this. Can't just browse our way through that. So the key here is that you are able to search the archives. So let's take a look at what that would be. Up in the corner here, there is the option to search. So earlier today, I've been working on this idea, and I don't think we're going to have time for me to show it here tonight, but I've been working on a bank night routine built for the camera, built for virtual presentations. And I had too many ideas for the method of the trick. There's 100 different ways to do the bank night trick. You know, envelopes, and you have all these envelopes, and they get eliminated, and you end up with $100 or what. There's so many different methods for it. But what I was missing was the what's actually in the envelopes. What's the story? What's the point of the trick? And so I just kind of started searching. And so up in the search bar, I put in quotations, much like you would on Google. That helps narrow it down. I put in the words bank night. And again, I'm going to get everything from my collection, but over here on the side, you can narrow down what category you're looking in. So if I just want to look for things in the linking ring, well, now I'm getting every mention of the bank night trick for the last 97 years of linking rings. Do you see how powerful this might be in your magical research? You can sort by relevance, or you can sort by the oldest issues first. Now, I was actually just reading this one. So here's the thing. We all know how a linking ring magazine tends to work. There are the ads at the beginning. There's kind of I don't know what to call them, like the administrative reports, president's report, editor's thing, all that stuff in the chunk. Then there's the articles. Then there's the parade and the columns and the tricks. And then there's the ring reports and a few more ads. Every single linking ring, pretty much all time, follows that same format. So this is a little trick for you. As you're going through the archive, you can get to know whether your search hit is an article, or whether it's a trick, or whether it's in a ring report, based on the kind of the page numbers a little bit. So I've found, and it changes over the years and over the decades. But for example, okay, page 82. So this one is on page 82. Oh, I'm not showing on my screen here. Hang on. So this result is coming in on page 82. So that is in the realm of it being a trick. That's in the realm of it being in a parade or a column. Again, page 81, 82, that's going to be tricks. 59, that's going to be a trick. Now, 118, that's when it gets into ring reports. And you can, in fact, see the little thing. Milt Boxenbaum performed bank night with paper bags. Well, if you read the linking ring, you recognize that as being part of a ring report. So that's a little tip and trick for search in the archives. Get to know the pages, get familiar with it, and you'll know whether you can find a trick, or you find a report, or you find a historical article just based on page numbers. Anyway, so I was going to show you this one. Where was it here? The Poor Man's Bank Night. I was just reading this one today. So you click on through, and it takes you exactly to the trick. So there it is. That is Poor Man's Bank Night. And you can see it's right after another trick. So chances are we're in the middle of a parade. If you want, you can back up, see where we are. Keep going back to the beginning of the parade to see who we're actually watching. And one of my favorite things about this, so I find a trick I'm looking for when I'm searching. Here we go. So it's a Ring 41 parade. So you always go back to the beginning of the article. But I find the thing I'm searching, and then just because I'm curious, I read the thing after it. And I have just accidentally stumbled upon so many cool ideas that I didn't even know how to search for or what to look for. Just because I read the next thing. And the great thing about this Ask Alexander database is that you can keep notes. You can keep track of these little discoveries. So I actually have, under my collections, I have some different kind of tricks and ideas that I've been working on and collecting up ideas. And it's basically like your little file folders. So you say, oh, well, bank night, I'm going to have a bank night folder. So I'm going to tuck this article into my bank night folder and collect that up. And then when I go back to research that trick, I don't have to rediscover everything. It's all there organized. You can add pages into collections. You can create new collections. You can also keep notes on things. If you want to have a specific note about why that article is interesting to you, you can add a little note to it. So this Ask Alexander archive of the Linking Ring is a free benefit for all IBM members, and man, oh man, it is a benefit. If you haven't tried it out, you're missing out. That is how this show exists, is because of this archive. I absolutely adore being able to go back and find things and be able to dig them up and discover, just like Michael was talking about, finding those old tricks, polishing them up. So check it out. And yeah, Harvey's saying the page number trick, yes, it has changed over the years, but the general structure has not. So, if you're looking in basically anything 1980s on is pretty consistent about, anything past 110. I should talk to Sammy Smith about this, see what he has to say about it. But basically, anything past page 110 is going to be ring reports. But that's also interesting too. Honestly, I'm sure most readers of the Linking Ring kind of skip over the ring report section. I understand maybe why you do that, but as an archive, it becomes even more interesting to me because now you can go back to 1940 and see what tricks people were performing and see what tricks were popular. If you do a trick and you see that there's all these ring report hits from this decade, it's interesting to find out why it was so popular in that era. Yeah, David saying, letting yourself be surprised by this archive is, I think, the number one secret. Because if you just go in with intent, it's like it's stopping to smell the roses. And there's a lot of surprises in here. Gary says, love your energy. Thanks, Gary. I can't do it without holiday cookies and eggnog. So that's my secret. So, open invitation, as I said with this show. I would absolutely love to have your involvement in this program. I encourage you to dig up your old Linking Ring magazines, whether they are on your physical shelf or in this digital archive. Please do. Dig them up, see what you find, and I would love to hear your sharing of that. If you want to demonstrate it, great. If you find a whole old history thing and you're just fascinated by it and you want to talk about it, I'd love to have you on the show. You can get in touch with me. You can submit videos, pre-recorded, all that good stuff. And we are here every month with Inside the Ring. I look forward to seeing you in the new year. And speaking of some of the great things we find, we still have more. Man, this is a longer than usual show here, but I do have more to share because one of our columnists in the Linking Ring magazine every month does exactly that. He records a video and he shares them with the people reading the magazine. So here, with the current edition of his column Card Corner, is Mike Powers sharing the latest trick.
Welcome, card lovers. This is the December 2020 edition of Card Corner Online. This month's selection is from my pal Paul Lelekas from Florida. Paul is a frequent contributor to the Card Corner column, and he has contributed the last trick of 2020. It's called Pasteboard Prison. Let's take a look. For the purpose of our little story today, we'll use the card box to represent our pasteboard prison. It even has a little window so you can see what's going on inside there. The aces will represent our posse. They're going to be sent out to find some suspects, and of course we need some suspects. So let's have 3 cards selected by 3 different spectators. So spectator number 1, touch a card. That would be this card. All right, your job is to remember this card. I'll leave it in front of you. And again, please don't forget the card. It's going to be a few minutes before you see it again. Spectator number 2, same thing. Just touch the back of a card. This one right here. Okay, I'm going to show you the card. Please remember that card. It'll be a little bit before you see that card again. And spectator number 3, I think you've got the idea. It's important to remember your card. This one right here. Okay, so spectator number 3 has gotten the 3rd card, the 3rd suspect. All right, well, let's be sure we actually have the aces over here. These guys have been set aside so that none of the selections were aces. There's the 2 minor suits and the major suits, hearts and spades, and we'll leave these guys inside of the card box temporarily. Now, spectator number 3, your card is going to go down in the lower part of the deck. I would say the bottom third of the deck. Spectator number 2, remember your card. Your card is about halfway down in the deck. And spectator number 1, don't forget your card. That card is in the upper third of the deck. So let's mix these cards up a little bit and get down to business. The posse needs to be sent out. Now, these guys have been inside the box the entire time. We don't actually need the deck at this point. We just need the posse. And remove those guys from the deck. Oh, look, they've been busy already. Apparently, they've been out collecting suspects. They've got the Queen of Clubs, the King of Clubs, and the 4 of Diamonds. I'm hoping those cards look familiar.
And that was Mike Powers performing the latest from his Card Corner column. If you want to check that out, that is in December 2020 here. And yeah, Mike has been doing video for his column going back many years. If you check out mallofmagic.com, you can go back and review a lot of his columns back to like 2016 or I don't even remember 2008 or something. Like a long time he's been doing videos, so he's way ahead of the curve on this stuff. I have one final thing to share, and I really appreciate everyone who's been tuning in for the show here tonight. And this is the reason that I wore the festive sweater. I again dug back into the archives, and I thought there's got to be something Christmassy, holiday from the Lincoln Ring that I could share. And I did a search for this line in the Ask Alexander archives, and this is what I found. This was what I searched for. 'Twas the night before Christmas. This is what I found. 'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that some magic would soon be put there. The magicians were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of rope tricks danced in their heads. I had all my magic lined up in a row, and had just settled down to rehearse for a show, When out on the lawn there rose such a clatter, I sprang from my magic table to see what was the matter. I flew to the window to look through the glass, tripped over my die box, and fell on my Azra. When what should appear to my wondering eyes but a man with a sack, wearing a disguise? He didn't look like a peddler, or a burglar, or a stealer. So I knew in a flash he must be a magic dealer. More rapid than eagles, his tricks he pulled out, set up a cash register and began to shout. Now card tricks, now candle tricks, now bouquets and dove pans, now silk tricks, now coin tricks, now color changing fans. From the biggest illusions to the smallest cup and ball, I've tricks, I've gimmicks to suit one and all. Some are quite serious, some very funny. They can all be yours. Just show me your money. As I looked him over from his feet to his head, I very soon realized I had nothing to dread. His eyes, how they twinkled through the holes in his mask. I had a hunch who he was, but was afraid to ask. He was of medium height and had a round belly that shook when he laughed like an egg bag full of jelly. I watched him as he took off one of his gloves, and he caused it to change to a pair of white gloves. Then, quick as a flash, to my great delight, he winked his eye and then vanished from sight. Then, without a single moment of delay, he produced a beautiful feather bouquet. I said, "Your tricks are great. I'm really quite thrilled." But he spoke not a word as his sack he refilled. I tried to get his attention, but he went on with his work. And when he was through, he turned with a jerk. He said, "I'm sorry, my friend, but that's all for tonight." Then he called a taxi, and he drove out of sight. And he laid his finger aside of his nose and said, "Merry Christmas to all, and don't forget, buy at Joe's." And that was written by Patricia Ann Cass. A visit from Guess Who. The interesting thing is Patricia was the 20,000th member of the IBM. And if you look in the top picture there, standing right behind Patricia was a very well-known magic dealer, happened to be named Joe. That was Joe Berg, the magic dealer, a short man with a round belly and a great reputation as a dealer of all sorts of magical delights. Thanks so much for watching here tonight. I hope it has been a magically delightful time. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and I'll see you next month on Inside the Ring.